Hi DB, how are you?
I'm okay, thank you, Sai. Good to meet you.
It's nice to meet you. Thanks for accepting my invitation and accepting to talk with me.
And thanks for inviting me. I'm looking forward to it.
So I thought to introduce you to my audience.
Sure. Hi, I'm DB Carter. I'm an English author, and I write mainly drama romances, but I've also written a little bit of horror and some fantasy.
Romantic books and horror and
Yes, not
fantasy.
often overlapping on that score,
Okay.
but yes.
So so you are from
Uh, I'm from Devon in the United Kingdom.
UK. Okay.
Yeah.
So can you tell more about your books that you have published?
Sure. Yeah, my first book to be published was called The Cherries, and it's about a young lady who, with her mother, escapes a life of abuse and hardship, and she goes to the English countryside where she makes new friends and discovers long lost talents and maybe even finds some romance. My second book is The Wild Roses, and it's set in the 1980s about three teenagers who are growing up in a small town, and it's a tale of corruption and betrayal and obsession, and then how people get through it and come through it out on the other side. And hopefully, it has an uplifting message. We've also got a novella called Ups and Downs, which is about a lady who runs a business in the centre of London, a very successful business, and then things go wrong, and the one and only person who can help her in all of London is a man she wronged long ago, and they were in love, and maybe they still are. Who knows? So that's that story, and I also have two stories in this collection of sort of spooky tales for winter called Winter Chills. And there's also a short story that's exclusive to Amazon Kindle, which is called The Sting, and that's a horror.
Okay. Are you a professional writer?
It's what I do all day long.
Okay. So how much time you took to write all these books?
Well, they tend to vary. The first book took me probably less long than the second book, oddly enough, which I know isn't what people are supposed to say. But the first book, the story formed in my mind, and I just had to write it. And I wrote solidly for, I don't know, between about 6 weeks and 2 months. My poor wife just said I was just staring at a computer the whole time, typing away, and everything else like that. The second book was it is a slightly more complex story, and a lot of interwoven threads, because you've basically got three lives that kind of diverge and then they come back together, and so it actually took a little bit longer to write that book. So that was probably a few months in the writing. Ups and Downs was one that I wrote in about a month. And the short stories, on average about a week for a short story.
Okay, so what is your first book is about?
The first book,
Cherries,
uh,
the cherries.
the cherries. Yes, the cherries is about a young lady called Susan, and yeah, she's her father deserted her mother when she was very young, and her mother's in a new relationship where she's suffered abuse, and so they've made they've left the situation, and they go and stay with an old friend in the English countryside, and there they kind of meet this new community of people, including the gentleman who lives next door, who lives in a house called the Cherries, and he's really quite a nice person, and he realizes that she's got a lot of talent as an artist, and starts to help nurture her talents. Um, and so it's about her journey from being this person who's got zero self confidence and self worth through to somebody who realizes her potential.
So why you put name as the cherries?
Well, that's a really good question. It's because uh, the house next door is the Cherries, and it's kind of very much the centre of the plot for a good deal of the book. because, this is where she finds happiness. It's almost like this idyllic place for her. It's got this beautiful gardens and this beautiful, Luke, who's the man who lives there, has this, beautiful study lined with books and everything like that. So she really, it's kind of like a little bit of heaven that she discovers after where she's grown up. So I felt the cherries, in much the same way as, why did Jane Austen call Northanger Abbey, if you see what I mean, or something like that, why it seemed a good name for the book. And also I felt that the cherry blossom kind of symbolized, this burst of because cherry blossom is gorgeous. We've got a cherry tree in our front garden, and it's it's one of my favourite blooms, and so it is absolutely it's symbolic of her kind of bursting out and being this amazing person. And at the beginning of it, she's very controlled inward and self-loathing really, and by the end of it, she's kind of building her confidence as a person. And mind you, there are a few twists and turns along the way, and maybe it'll all go away again because of something that happens. But I don't want to give away too many surprises.
So who do you think that who are going to connect with this cherries?
Well, that's a good question. I think it's very popular because a good deal of it is about the relationship with her and her mother and the friendship that they have. I know it's popular with a lot of mums who kind of, and I had several say to me, I read it and I see the relationship with my own daughter, there, which is very flattering to have that said. So it's there, but I think there's a lot of different things. It covers a lot of topics all the way through from bullying to self-harm to, gosh, I can't even begin to list them all. There's quite a few. In doing so, I think there's something in there for nearly everybody. And I've had people of all backgrounds say to me how interesting they found it, and a lot of people saying, oh well, it helped them, which is very gratifying. So yeah, men and women seem to like it. I haven't had too many negative comments.
So what about the second book?
The second book is there are three friends, two girls and a boy.
The Wild Roses.
The Wild Roses, yes, sorry, The Wild Roses. It's set in the 1980s, and as a young Pip and Sharon have been best friends forever, ever since they were little girls. And they take Gavin, who's the third character, under their arm at school because he's very badly bullied, and because they're both relatively popular in the school. By taking him under their arm, they afford him some protection from the harassment that he gets. And then one of them meets somebody, and they very much change. Or maybe they don't. Maybe their true personality comes out, and it ends up with betrayal and corruption and all of a heap of different things that happen. And the three lives, because of this thing that happens, they all take completely different directions to what they thought were going to happen. One was going to go out to work, another one was going to go to university, another one was the two of them were going to go to university, and different things happen. And then from then on, it's a question of how these three lives diverge, and then maybe they come back together and so forth. But it's another one that covers some very difficult topics, including things like sexual harassment in the workplace, which was particularly rife in the 1980s, and various different other things that happen, drug abuse and so forth. And it is about sort of finding a way through, when everything happens, when the whole world stops and nobody believes you, just kind of coming through it on the other side, and something will happen in the end. There's hope there. And the main character is Pip, by a slight edge. There's a bit more of Pip than the others in there. She goes through quite a lot, but it's and the name The Wild Roses. Roses are a theme that run through the book, as are certain animals and so forth as well. But there's also, and I won't give the spoiler away, but there's another reason it's called The Wild Roses, which you kind of realise right almost at the end. So it's there's bits of mystery in there as well, and family relationships and so forth.
And what is the third and fourth books are about?
Okay, well, ups and downs. This is it's a light-hearted romance with some drama and stuff in there as well. And it's basically about a woman called Carol, who's a very successful businesswoman, but actually doesn't really like her life very much. She's quite lonely, and she runs this business because she's come to running this business now because everybody relies on her. And she has a sidekick called Leela, who's basically helps her run the company. One day, they have a very important client. They have to get something together for the client, and right at the most critical moment, something goes very wrong, and they need help, and the only people that can help in the time scale, or the only person that can help in this time scale that they need the help, turns out to be this man who long ago, when they were at school together, she had treated badly, and so they will come back, and the question is had she left it too late for love, as it were.
So about the last book, the short stories.
Yeah, well, this is a collection of sort of spooky stories for the winter time. I've only written two of the stories of the stories that are in there. There are four authors, and we've either written one or two stories each. And so my two stories are about somebody at a very, very creepy railway station at midnight on Christmas Eve, and the other one is about someone who receives a very strange Christmas card that starts to bring about some rather eerie changes.
Okay, so at last, do you want to say anything to the people who watches this video about your books or about anything?
Well, thank you very much. Well, I hope that people would find the books interesting. I always try to have a positive aspect to them of my stories of some respect. Even the recent horror story, The Sting, which I released, there's something in there to find hope, I suppose, as it were. And yeah, that you will go through a journey with my books, and they can, I've been told they've made people cry and then laugh and within a few pages of each other, but they're a journey, and I hope people see positives in them. That's what I aim for when I write.
So at last, have you seen any previous videos of mine?
I've seen the one that you did recently with the fabulous AK Angel. I saw the video you did with her, and I really enjoyed that. So yeah, it was good. So yes.
Thank you, DB, for coming to my show and explaining about your books and telling about your books.
Well, thank you very much for having me on. I've really enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah. So can I put this video on my YouTube and on internet on my YouTube channel on internet on all my on social media with your permission?
Sure.
Thanks a lot, DB. Keep going, keep writing, and do what
Thank you. Yes. Good to talk to you.
Yeah. Bye.